Tanvi, Panchakal Guru Center, Pasim Village, Apatana Pavana Vaishnav. Hare Krishna. So we'll start with the prayers. Om Angyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakya Chakshurulmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupada Mayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shriuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritamsa Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Picharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasadestarne Panchakalpadruva Kripa Sindhu Bhevsa Patitanam Pavane Vaishnavi Namo Nama Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gautisa Nama He Krishna Karma Sindhu Dinbandhu Jyotpate Gopsa Gopta Kanta Radha Kanta Ramasate Tatkanchan Gaurangi Sirade Vrindavaneshwari Vishnu Devi Pranamami Haripe Ginacha Nivasaya Nitya Paramatmane Balbhadra Subhadra Bham Jagannathaya Nama Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Reading chapter number 7. Okay, so 39 to 42. Somebody can read 39, 40, 41, 42. All the four translations.
Text 39. Spotless devotees of the Lord have mentioned the source of such knowledge. How could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of such devotees? Text 40. My dear sage, I have put all these questions before you with a view to knowing the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are a friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision.
Yeah, so we can recite this verse. Sarve Vedasa Yagyasya
Sarve Vedasya Yagyasya
Tapodanani Chanagha
Tapodanani Chanagha
Jiva Bhay Pradanasya
Jiva Bhaya Pradanasya
Na Kurviran Kalamapi.
Nakur Viram Kalamapi.
Please continue.
Translation. O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc. Purport. The highest perfectional work of charity is to give people in general immunity from the anxieties of material existence. This can be done only by performing activities in devotional service to the Lord. Such knowledge is incomparable. Cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedas, performance of sacrifice, and distribution of munificent charities altogether cannot form even a part of the immunity from the pangs of material existence that is gained from devotional service. The charity of Maitreya not only will help Vidura, but due to its universal nature, will deliver all others in all times. Thus, Maitreya is immortal. Text 42. Translation. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, thus the chief of the sages, who was always enthusiastic about describing topics regarding the personality of Godhead, began to narrate the descriptive explanation of the Puranas, being so infused by Vidura. He was very much enlivened by speaking on the transcendental activities of the Lord.
So, Vidura initially shows his confidence on Maitra Muni by saying that devotees, spotless devotees like you, they are source of transcendental knowledge. So, unless until one is helped by such devotees, one cannot practice devotional service, one cannot get detachment. So, we need devotees at every phase of our life. Now, because bhakti is always mentioned as bhakti lata. Bhakti lata means it is a creeper, and creeper always needs a support. So that is how we always need the support of devotees. We can't live without devotees. And then he said that I had posed these questions in front of you because I wanted to hear Hari Katha. So this Hari Katha or the charity of Hari Katha is better than all sort of Vedic rituals, like Vedic charity, sacrifices, penances, etc. So many times what happens is because Hari Katha, although being the highest charity, is very easily accepted and delivered. Like all the devotees are there in their homes, and still they are able to relish Hari Katha. And I am also in my home, and I am able to speak Hari Katha. So because of that, many times we don't value it so much. But let us say you go to Tirupati, and we have to take days together to get darshan of the Lord, then we value it because so much austerity is involved. Or we have to do Govardhan Parikrama whole day. So then we know there's austerity involved. That's why we value it. But because Hari Katha is so easily available and easily delivered, so we don't value it many times. But actually speaking, this Hari Katha, so Harinam and Hari Katha, giving them, one becomes the most charitable person, and whoever accepts becomes the most wealthy person because he accepts the highest charity. So that is how Harinam and Hari Katha are the greatest charity to be given and received. And that is how he encouraged Maitreya Muni to speak further because he has spoken a lot of questions. So that Maitreya Muni understood, anyway, he knew, but he realizes that the person in front of me also values the charity which I am giving. Otherwise, materialistic people consider it to be a waste of time. And even neophyte devotees, many times, they don't value it so much. So they can Prabhu kuch practical dijiye, give me something practical. So speaking Hari Katha is practical, hearing Hari Katha is practical. That is how he becomes very encouraged. And then he continues with the further descriptions in chapter number 8. This manifestation of Brahma from Garvadaksha Vishnu. So he continues the topic of creation. So, yes, Anand Dinamar.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I have a question. Like in the first canto, we saw the sages of Naimisharanya, they asked 6 questions. Then in the second canto, we saw Parikshit Maharaj asked questions that what is good for others and things like that. And here, Vidura is asking a series of questions which we have been reading through since few classes. Is there any is there any classification of their questions? Is there any difference, or like all these devotees have been asking questions? Of course, it's all, I understand, as it is good for devotees and mankind, but then is there anything specific that we need to understand, or it's nothing like that?
Okay. We can see intention of a person who is inquiring from the type of questions he's asking. Like when it comes to cities of Naimisharanya, they were asking questions for the purpose of welfare of everyone because they were sitting and doing yajna for the purpose of asking welfare for everyone. Parikshit Maharaj, he was asking questions more for a person because he was going to leave his body in 7 days. The intent was very clear here. So you can find a difference in questions. So there are questions, if you see the purview of the questions of sages of Naimisharanya, it's pretty wide, very wide. Except asking about Vedic rituals, they practically ask everything. So that's why in one of the verses they even speak that apart from certain parts of the Vedas, you are expert in everything. That means we don't want to know about rituals. Rituals we may not be very expert, but other things we want to know. Parikshit Maharaj was asking questions more for a person who is like going to leave his body in 7 days. So of course he asked for people in general also, but it was like more focus on that. And Vidura is asking questions because he is feeling a lot of separation from Krishna. So he didn't want to ask directly. She was asking question more on the Lord's pastimes in the material world, so that it's like something which will not increase his pain of separation. At the same time, it is Harikatha. So all three people are in different situations. So you'll find even Bhagavad Gita also, same Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita in Mahabharata and Uddhav Gita in Srimad Bhagavatam. But we'll find a vast of difference in when Krishna is speaking both the things. Actually, I'm doing this work, bringing out the parallels and commenting on the differences and the similarities in Uddhav Gita and Bhagavad Gita. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna discourages Arjuna from doing Jnana Yoga. Of course, he takes him to Bhakti Yoga and he takes Uddhav also to Bhakti Yoga. But Uddhav he encourages to do Jnana Yoga. Because Uddhav was in the time when he was about to retire. Arjuna was in a time when he was like supposed to do his duty very properly. So that is why many times the answers are very audience specific. So you can say in one sense, Bhagavad Gita is more for a person who is about to begin his life, and Bhagavatam is a person which about a person who is about to leave this body. So ultimately, Harikatha is same, but the direction, if you see the proportion of encouragement for renunciation, it's more in Bhagavatam than Bhagavad Gita. Because that's why when we preach, that time we can be careful about it. It's like a person who is about to enter in the family life, if we teach him a lot of detachment, that is not like very proper. That is a time when he should be learning out how to take responsibility and beginning his life. But for a person who is like a one prastha, now he's 50, 55 plus, he's about to retire, then we can talk a lot about detachment. So Harikatha is same, but proportion of detachment is like different for different audiences. So there's some of my observations.
Thank you, bro.
Hari Hari. Yes, Jagat Mata Sati.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु धन्यवाद। प्रभु जी जो आज के सेक्शन का टाइटल था, Vidura declared his confidence in Vidura in Maitreya. So why this? What is the need of declaration? Why does declared? He's asking. He accepted him as a spiritual master. Still, he's declaring. What is the significance?
I'll ask you one very simple question. It will answer all your questions. Does a wife needs to have confidence on the husband?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Otherwise, what will happen in the home?
Chaos.
Same thing is true with spiritual master and disciple also. So unless until disciple shows his confidence on the spiritual master will not give very deep instructions. The spiritual master loves everyone, but he trusts only very few people. He trusts those people, those who can understand his mood, and he is fully confident if I tell him, then things are done. That's why Prabhupada loved everyone, but few people we see, like Tamal Krishna Maharaj was there, Giriraj Maharaj were there. These people were very confidential of Prabhupada. Prabhupada could speak anything and everything to them. So that's why unless until a disciple gives that confidence to the spiritual master, that expressing is also many times very important. So I know many devotees who are taking very responsible positions in ISKCON today. They were the ones who have given that confidence to their authorities. So authorities know that this fellow is eager for the service, automatically they create some service for it. So similarly, Vidura is posing so many questions, but unless until he shows that no, I trust you, sometimes speaker may also think that this fellow is asking question because he doesn't have trust on me, or he's just asking because he want to hear Hari Katha. What is his motive? So he was saying that I have full trust on you. So that no, he's angry. And also you find the stature of Vidura is very great. So Vidura being son of the Vyasdev, at the same time Yamaraj in the previous lives, which Maitreya knew. So if person of such a high stature is coming and speaking from you, automatically we think whether this person is genuinely asking for a, like, because he wants that, he want to know about it, or he's just testing or something else. So that is for confidence. Okay. So it's both the sides. When a spiritual master shows confidence on the disciple, disciple also increases the surrender of the spiritual master. And when disciple shows surrender to the spiritual master becomes confident, and then he can give him the real services which he likes, which is there in the heart. So it is both the sides. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, now we'll come to chapter number 8. That's another ready. This chapter number 8 is manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, which is continuation of the topics from chapter number 6. So chapter number 7 was like quite a philosophy, and now the, you can say, the flow of creation continues in chapter number 8. The first 9 verses, the disciplic succession of Srimad Bhagavatam is mentioned. How the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam came from beginning till Vidura. Then chapter number 10 again starts refocusing on creation. The re-awakening of creation is spoken. Because we have read till prayers. Prayers are there, and then Virat Roop came. So after Virat Roop came, then Virat Roop, who is the embodiment of creation, re-awakened. But then what happened further, we'll discuss now. So 15 to 23 will be birth of Brahma and its search for absolute truth. And in 24 to 33, we'll see how he gets the results of his austerities and such. And he gets the darshan of Garbhodakshaya. Manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakshaya. Now we'll go to 1 to 9. So 1 to 9 is how Maitreya acknowledges Vidura's devotion and describes the disciplic succession of Srimad Bhagavatam. To tell that now whatever knowledge I am giving you is very authentic. Somebody can read text number 1.
Text 1 translation. The great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment.
So we're saying that you are Paurav, the descendant of King Puru. So Pandavas were that. Pandavas, Kauravas, Vidura, they all were descendants of Puru. And Krishna was descendant of Yadu. And because Yayati Maharaj, he had cursed other sons apart from Puru that you can't become emperor. And that is the reason Krishna also never occupied the post of emperor. Of course, he never occupied the post of even a king. You are just behaving like a minister. Because Vasudeva was a minister, Krishna was also behaving like a minister. So you find that you're saying that descendants of Puru dynasty are known for their devotion to Krishna. So it's not very wonderful that you want to know about transcendental passions of the Lord. So, because you have taste for Hari Katha. Now, second verse is also worth memorizing verse. Soham nirnam chulla sukhaya dukkham
नृणां शुल्ल सुखाय दुःखम्
mahadgatanam viramaya tasya
महद्गतानां विरमाय तस्य
pravartaye bhagavatam puranam
प्रवर्तये भागवतं पुराणम्
Yada sakshat bhagavan siddha.
यदा साक्षात् भगवान् ऋषिभ्यः
Please read.
Let me now begin speaking on Bhagavad Puran, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled in extreme miseries for the for the sake of very little pleasure purport. The sage Maitreya proposed to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam because it was specially compiled and traditionally comes down in disciplic succession for the solution of all the problems of human society. Only one who is fortunate can have opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Under the spell of material energy, the living entities are entrapped in the bondage of many difficulties simply for the sake of little bit of material happiness. They engage in the fruitive activities, not knowing the implications. Under the false impression, the body is the self. The living entities foolishly relate to so many false attachment. They think that they can engage with the materialistic paraphernalia forever. This gross misconception of life is so strong that a person suffers continuously, life after life, under the external energy of the Lord. If one comes to in contact with the book Bhagavatam as well as the devotee Bhagavat, one knows what the Bhagavatam is, and then such fortunate man gets out of the material entanglement. Therefore, Srimati Muni, out of compassion for the suffering men in the world, proposes to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam first and last.
So, Soham Niranam Chulla Sukha hai. Chulla Sukh means small, little bit pleasure. Dukkham Mahat. So in this world, for little bit of pleasure, people undergo a lot of misery. It's like for little bit of pleasure of tongue, one has to work so hard. Go purchase sabji, and before that, some farmers have grown it, and then you make the feast. And how long does the pleasure remain? Till the prasadam is there in the tongue. Once it goes in belly, again it may create trouble if it is not digested. So for a little bit of pleasure in this world, one has to undergo so much of suffering. So we see in any regard. So Gatanam Viramatasya. That's why what series have done? Pravarteye Bhagavatam Puranam. So they have been speaking or compiled or even say propagating Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Bhagavatam is one of the most commented Vedic literature. So among all the Puranas, the maximum commentaries are there on Srimad Bhagavatam. And because of that reason, the distortion in Bhagavatam is minimum. So in Vedic literature, in Vedic era, what would happen is there were scribes who would write. So you have to pay them and then they would write. So while writing, they would make some errors sometimes. Or they may sometimes write some verses which they've heard from their guru, included there. So there are some distortions. But Bhagavatam has minimum number of versions, in the sense that verses here and there are minimum. And one of the reasons is that Bhagavatam is commented the most. So that's why Bhagavatam, even in the literary circle, scholarly circle, Bhagavatam is the most trusted one among all the Puranas. So people have been taking a lot of endeavor comment on Bhagavatam because they have trust on Bhagavatam. This comes in 10th canto, those chapters which are there good in light of Bhagavad. So an analogy comes. So the analogy is like a analogy of a road in a forest. So in the forest, you will not find a pakka road. There kacha roads are there. So where grass keeps on growing and then you have to remove the grass. So the roads, those in which people don't travel, they don't walk, they are overgrown by the grasses. But the roads in which people keep on walking again and again and again and again, they are easily maintained. Grasses don't grow there. So similarly, the literatures in which people don't comment are lost in because of time. But literatures which are commented many, many times, they are saved, they survive. So I was just talking to one of my relatives. So they're like extremely experienced gynecologists. Now been practicing since you can say last 40 years. So then I showed them Bhagavatam, this moment of living entities, how a embryo grows in the womb. And they were surprised because when they were doing the medical research, that time even the photographs inside the embryo, no, they were not known, much known. So they were surprised that at that time Prabhupada had written the purports declaring such a great detail which was not known to the people before that. And even the precision which is given there, nowadays the gynecologists don't know. We won't go in that detail. So when I was reading verses to them, they were telling them translation. They said, you don't have to speak anything. We understand Sanskrit. Just recite the verses. So they are like well versed in Sanskrit also. So I was reciting verses and they were understanding. So both husband and wife. So then they were telling me, we know that these literatures are right, but maybe the meaning they are speaking becomes obscure because we can't relate with such things nowadays. So they are referring to Charakan Susrit Samhita. They were telling that we are reading them, we are well versed in Sanskrit, we read them, but after a point of time, we understand that there are certain things which are given, we can't relate with them. And the whole reason is that they are not well commented. They are not well commented. When they are well commented, then the knowledge is passed down the generations. So that's why this discipline succession is very, very important. Just by directly approaching the scriptures, we can't understand that. Please read third verse translation book.
Some time ago, being inquisitive to know Sanat Kumar, the chief of the boy saints, questioned by the other great sages, inquired exactly like you the truth regarding Vasudev, the supreme Sankarshan, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. Purport. This is a clarification of the statement that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam. When and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained here. Questions similar to those put forward by Vidura were asked by great sages like Sanat Kumar and Lord Sankarshan. The plenary expansion of these bring Lord Vasudev.
Yeah. So we know Tene Brahma Hriday Adi Kaviye, Lord spoke to Brahma, and then we have this whole parampara. But then they were asking, I don't know whether Brahmaji wrote it down, he passed it down, how this Bhagavatam comes down. So then matrimony gives the evidence of Chatus Kumaras, especially Sanat Kumar. So Sanat Kumar and all other brothers, they went below Patal to the place where Lord Sankarshan stays. And they start asking the similar questions which Vidura had asked. So that's called parampara. So when Maitreya Muni heard the questions, he said, "Oh, the same questions were asked by Sanat Kumar to Lord Sankarshan, and I will relate the answers now. Answers given by the Lord." Please read text 4, 5, and 6.
At that time, Lord Sankarshan was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, who the learned esteemed as Lord Vasudev. But for the sake of advancement of great learned sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes and began to speak. The sages came from the highest planets down to the lower region through the water of the Ganges, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of Serpent King when they desire good husbands. The four Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumar, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarshan, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head.
Thank you. So that time what happens is Lord Sankarshan was meditating on his Lord Vasudev, but he slightly opened his eyes so that Chatus Kumaras can ask that question and he can answer that. And these Chatus Kumaras, because they were coming through the medium of Ganga, so Ganga is there in all the planets. So you'll read that description in the 5th canto, when it comes to 5th canto. And that is why by the medium of Ganga, those who are mystic yogis, they can go from one planet to another planet. They take a dip here and they get up somewhere else. I was hearing one lecture of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was narrating that when he was in Prayag, he saw some great sages who would take dip in Gangotri, Yamunotri, because they were staying there, and directly come to Prayag during the Kumbh Mela. And they would take their dip there, take bath there, and again go back to Gangotri, Yamunotri. So great sages do that, and that is why their hairs were wet. And then they touch the lotus feet of the Lord, which are, because Lord is worshipped by the Nagkanyas who stay in Patalok, so that they can get good husbands. And after that, they started glorifying the Lord. And Lord also accepted their prayers by raising his thousands of heads, and which were decorated by different jewels. Please read 7th translation in the purport.
Lord Sankarsana thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage Sanat Kumar, who had already taken the vow of renunciation. Sanat Kumar also, in his turn, when inquired by Sankhyayan Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Sankarsana. Purport. This is a way of parampara system. Although Sanat Kumar, the well-known great saintly Kumar, was in the perfect stage of life, still he heard the message of Srimad Bhagavatam from Lord Sankarshan. Similarly, when he was questioned by Sankhyayan Rishi, he spoke to him the same message that he heard from Lord Sankarsana. In other words, unless one hears from the proper authority, one cannot become a preacher. In devotional service, therefore, 2 items out of 9, namely hearing and chanting, are the most important. Without hearing nicely, one cannot preach the message of Vedic knowledge.
Thank you.
The great sage Sankhyayan was chief amongst the transcendentalists, and when he was describing the glory of the Lord in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam, it so happened that my spiritual master Prashar and Brahaspati both heard him. The great sage Prashar, as aforementioned, being so advised by the great sage Pulatasya, spoke unto me the foremost the Puranas, Bhagavatam. I shall also describe this before you, my dear son, in terms of my hearing, because you are always my faithful follower.
Thank you. So the parampara of Bhagavatam is spoken here. The Lord Shankar sir spoke to Sanat Kumar spoke to Sankhya Muni, and Sankhya Muni spoke to Parasar and Brahaspati. And Parasar spoke to Purastha, and Purastha spoke to Maitra Muni, and Maitra Muni saying, now I'll speak Srimad Bhagavatam to you. So this is how whole parampara of Bhagavatam is spoken here in these verses. And Prabhupada emphasizes that unless until one does Shravanam properly, one cannot do Kirtanam properly. So we find in some place, many times our devotees lack. Not everyone, but some of them. It's like some devotees are so enthusiastic to preach, but not enthusiastic to hear. So you ask them now, whose lecture are you hearing nowadays? Nobody. But preaching programs are there, 5 programs, 6 programs, 7 programs. But unless until one hears, one cannot speak. So Sravanam, Mananam, Nidhi, Dhasanam, all these things when they happen, then one can get a inspiration to speak. And after only Sravanam and Kirtanam, when it is done properly, including Nidhi, Dhasanam, etc., then there can be Smarnam. Otherwise, Smarnam is not possible. How can we think about a person about whom we don't know? So we think a lot about our family members, we think about friends, relatives, because we sufficiently know about them. But if we don't sufficiently hear and speak about Krishna, where is the possibility of thinking of Krishna? We can think only about a person about whom we know, not about a person whom we don't know. And that's why Prabhupada is emphasizing on Shravanam Kirtanam. So those who have heard sufficiently, attentively, they can speak. That's why this Sut Goswami's actual name is Ugra Srava Sut, who's very ugra, who's like very, very, very attentive in hearing. And because he was very good in hearing, he was very good in speaking. So those who are good hearers can become good speakers. But those who are not good hearers, they cannot become good speakers. That's why it is very, very necessary to become a good hearer. When you're a good hearer, then you can become good speakers. So generally people are very enthusiastic to speak without hearing. That doesn't work. We have to hear and then we can speak. Of course, not that we keep on hearing only, we don't speak, then Smarnam will not happen. So that's why speaking is also important. So Shravanam, Kirtanam. Now matrimony directly comes to the link between chapter number 6 now. That is how the creation got re-awakened. So after speaking about parampara of Bhagavatam, how this Bhagavatam has flown, now he's going to speak about this creation continued after blueprint in the form of Viratu was made. So then what happened? Yes. Now please read 10th, text 10th onwards, 10, 11, 12.
Verse 10, translation. At that time when the 3 worlds were submerged in water, Garbhodaya
ये साइलेंट हो गया आपका
number in his own internal potency, free from action of the external energy, his eyes were not completely closed. Text 11 translation. Just like the strength of fire within fuel wood, the Lord remained within the water of dissolution, submerging all living entity in their subtle bodies. He lay in the self-invigorated energy called Kal. Verse 12. Translation. The Lord lay down for 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas in his internal potency, and by his external energy, he appeared to be sleeping within the water when the living entities. Hare Krishna. Can you go down? Hare Krishna. When the living entity were coming out of the further development of their fruitive activities, actuated by the energy called Kal Shakti, he saw his transcendental body as bluish.
So after Virat Roop or blueprint was constructed, the three worlds, Bhu, Bhurva, Swa, they all were submerged in water. And the only person in the whole universe was Garbhodaksha. He was lying on the breast of Anandadev, and he was in his Yoga Nidra, connected to internal potency. And he was not at all connected to external energy, although he was within the universe. So he was like just in Yoga Nidra. But like strength of fire within the fuel wood, the Lord remained within the fire there in the fuel wood, but not visible. Similarly, Lord was there in the water dissolution, visible. And all living entities were there in the subtle bodies. So they have not yet got the gross bodies. That's we are discussing. Initially, when they were there with Mahavishnu, they didn't had even subtle bodies. Because even subtle bodies were not created, or subtle matter was not created. But when they are with Garbhodaksha Vishnu, they have a subtle body of mind, intelligence, ego, but they don't have their gross body. And how the subtle body is created? Subtle body is created along with the creation of Virat Roop. When Virat Roop is created, subtle body is created, but they still don't have gross bodies to enjoy this world. And he was laying in the energy of Kal, which is now moving in the forward direction. Time is moving in the forward direction. And how long did Lord stay there? 1,000 Divya Yugas. So for 1,000 Divya Yugas, he was staying there along with his internal potency. And he was appearing to be sleeping in that water. And now when the living entities were coming out for further development of the fruitive activities, actuated by Kala Shakti, his body is so transcendental. Because they were laying on his body, because of that, since this body was appearing bluish. That's what Prabhupada writes in the purport. Yes, sir. Radha Kesapru? Radha Kesapru?
Only in text 11, it is saying laying on the kal. What? It was laying in the water or laying in the kal?
So he is laying on the water, but laying on the kal means we have to see it as figurative in the sense that he is now there along with the time factor which moves in the forward direction.
But time factor is only after Pradhan.
No, time factor is there like time is always there. Time is eternal. Like Pradhan is eternal, time is also eternal. But this time factor moves in one direction when Mahavishnu glances on Pradhan. Then the time which was like reversible before, it starts moving in one direction, forward direction. And now when Lord is moving, laying down with the Kal factor means creation is continuing in one direction. It will continue. That is the meaning of Lord laying down with this Kal Shakti.
Can you explain the example going in one direction, something like that?
Okay.
How to understand it simply?
Okay. So you are aware of one direction, you are not aware of both directions. One direction means we can move forward, we cannot move backward. Like you cannot become a 20-year-old boy again. Or you can't say that now you can write poems about when you were 10 years old, but you can't become 10-year-old again. Because we are moving forward in time. We are moving forward. But as far as spiritual world is concerned, time can be moved in both directions. You can go forward also, you can go backward also. So that is something which is not known to us. Jagadanand Pandit describes it very beautifully in his this Prem Vivarta. So there he writes, he gives an example. Radha Krishna ek atma dui dehe dhari, annone vilas ne aswadan kari. So Radha and Krishna, they are one personality, but they divide into two. As Radha and Krishna for enjoyment. Now, who is that one personality? Lord Chaitanya. And then we also hear that Lord Chaitanya, sorry, Lord Krishna accepted the mood and color of Radharani and became Lord Chaitanya. So which happened first? Lord Chaitanya came first or Radha Krishna came first? So who came first? This is my question to Radha Kesapru.
This is inconceivable.
So it's like both the things. Both were simultaneously existing at all the times.
Yeah.
So same thing is there in the spiritual world, but in the material world, what happens is time factor has to move in one direction so that living entities in this world can change different bodies by a variety of bodies. So that's how time controls us in this material world, and that is called Kala Shakti. So Lord was laying down with Kala Shakti means now the creation is moving forward. It's going in forward direction. And what is the result? And that is why he lays down there for 1,000 yoga cycles, Div yogas. Till then he was just lying down. And these living entities were waiting there for 1,000 yoga cycles on the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu with their subtle bodies. And because of their sins or sabhav, contaminated sabhav, his body appears loose. Is that clear now, Radha Kesapru?
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. So that is there for 1,000 years. And then let us see what. Please read 13 and 14.
13th, the subtle subject matter of creation on which the Lord's attention was fixed was agitated by the material mode of passion, and thus the subtle form of creation pierced through his abdomen. 14. Piercing through this sum total form of the fruitive activity of the living entities took the shape the bud of a lotus flower generated from the personality of Vishnu, and by his supreme will, it illuminated everything like the sun and dry up the vast waters of devastation.
So how long did he remain resting for 1,000 yoga cycles? He was sleeping with Maya Shakti and he was awakened with Chitta Shakti. Yeah. So what happens is, as we had learned in text number 12, all the living entities were waiting for getting gross bodies for 1,000 Divyugas. And Lord also was compassionate. He wanted to give them gross bodies so that they can fulfill their desires. So subtle bodies of jivas were there within the Lord. Especially when he glanced, these subtle bodies, these jivas were there. Now they got subtle bodies also. They were there in this, lying on him. There were elements with the Lord. And when these things were agitated by mode of passion means creation. So now something had to create. So along with time factor, because things were moving forward, there was a need of creation. So something sprouted from his navel. So that these jivas along with the subtle bodies can be ejected out, can be pulled out. So by the influence of time factor, by the influence of Rajoguna, by the influence of uh, the desire of living entities to enjoy, Lord sprouted a lotus flower, a lotus bud from his navel, and within that lotus, who are there now? Material elements along with living entities who had subtle bodies. They were there. Now, so they were impelled by awakened karmas and jivas. And because Lord Vishnu was the source of this lotus, it became effulgent like sun, very effulgent. And this heat of the sun, like lotus, it evaporated the water of devastation. And because it evaporated the water of devastation, now lotus was above that ocean of Garbhodak ocean. So Vishnu was its sword, but it was effulgent. So that is how the whole lotus was clearly visible now, because waters of devastation were evaporated by this time. That is how this lotus is generated. So what does lotus consist of? You have to remember. Lotus consists of living entities with their subtle bodies along with the material elements. And why did it come out? Because of the influence of mode of passion, time factor which was moving in one direction, and the desire of living entities to enjoy. Now, so they went along with the subtle bodies. Like, why are prison houses created? Yes, Arvind Charan too. Who creates the prison houses? Yes, Arvind Charan too, can hear me?
Government created.
Government creates.
Yes,
But
sir.
unless if there are no prisoners, then will government create the prison houses? So who creates? Prisoners create or government creates?
For the benefit of prisoners, government created. For the,
For the benefit of non-criminals, government creates. Anyway, yeah. So the point is, it's the desire of the prisoners to break the laws, which you can say encourages the government to create the prison houses. So similarly, because living entities have a desire to enjoy separate from Krishna, they have a desire to enjoy material world. Lord creates this lotus flower. So in one sense, you can say that who creates lotus flower? Desires of living entities to enjoy from that point of view. But who actually creates this? The Supreme Lord of this. So this is similar to that. That is why we spoke this analogy of prison house. So that's why. So this lotus is filled with these living entities. And somehow it's not very clear, but if you put this third canto and fifth canto in parallel, so it looks as if this is only Bhumanda. It looks like that. So I'm not like very sure, but we had a discussion in the previous Bhakti Vaibhav. So there are many senior devotees in that. Some devotees were practicing. One of the devotees was passed on from IIT the year I was born. So we were telling, no, I am your senior, you must have seen me. And then he told that I passed out in 1984. I told I was born in 1984. No. So maybe after you passed out, then I was awakened. I took birth. So I don't know you. Very senior devotee. He also became devotee when he was studying there in IIT Kharagpur. That time Prithu Prabhu would come and preach to participants. So he was also like went through the whole thing. So it looks as if, because the structure of Bhumandal and lotus look almost similar. So we are not very sure because it is not given Acharya's commentaries. At least we didn't went through, but it looks like that. Anyway, whatever it may be, but we find that this is filled with living entities. This filled with living entities. Now to give them a gross body, now Lord has to make some arrangement. So he'll make arrangement now. That's why 15 to 23 will describe about Brahma's birth and his search for absolute truth. Because Brahmaji has to come to create, give them gross bodies. So that's why when we say Brahma is a creator, he's a creator of gross bodies. Subtle bodies and a subtle blueprint is already created. It is already ready. So Brahmaji has to just put gross elements into subtle things. It's like create things grossly. So Brahma can be called a gross creator. Please read 15, 16, 17 now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Amrentu.
I'm having a question, Prabhu. Prabhu, when at the time of demonstration, when Brahma slept, Prabhu, we were in the womb of Garbhodak Sai Vishnu. So the quality of a soul is always active. So how at that time you are unactive, Prabhu, in dormant condition? Because soul is
Okay.
always on active.
Yeah, so Lord had to like put us in dormant condition so that we can sleep. It's like when we sleep, at least we are not grossly active. So similarly, both when we were there with Garbhodaksha Vishnu or with Karnodaksha Vishnu, we were put in that dormant condition of sleeping condition. So this is something which I couldn't come across, but one devotee was going through some commentaries he was telling. Balram Sakti was telling me, he read in some commentary, that for some time, living entities become awakened. And they become very disturbed that we have such a desire to enjoy, but we don't have a gross body, we don't have a subtle body. So seeing their suffering, Lord again puts them to sleep. So they keep on sleeping at that time. It's like when a person is becoming very notorious, even many kings and many governments follow that. If they find that certain community of people, they are becoming very aggressive, or they are rebelling against the government or the king, they generally make them addicted to the drugs, etc., so that they go in ignorance. So then such people cannot come and rebel again. So it is a regular, you can say, political affair. Now Krishna is not like that, but Lord puts them on rest. So they sleep by the influence of Maya. Okay, Amaran Haripu.
It's same like we sleep in the night. So soul is inactive like that. It's like the same. Either the nature of the soul is always active, probably how it can be inactive.
See, when we get deep sleep,
Yes,
that
Prabhuji.
time neither gross body nor subtle body is active.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So if Lord wants, Lord can put that soul to sleep. So he
Ji,
puts them
Prabhuji.
in such a condition, but they lose their awareness for some time. So soul is although very active, but by the influence of Maya, a lot makes them inactive for some time. So conscious beings cannot be made unconscious all the times, but for some time they can be made. Like we also every day we get some time for deep sleep. So that time we are not aware of dreams also. So Susupti is there. Susupti is below Swapna. Swapna is the dreamy state. Susupti is the deep sleep. So they are put in Susupti state for during that devastation sleep. So,
And when the lotus flower sprout from the level of Garbhodak Savishnu, all the souls, Jivatma also come with the lotus flower. At that time, they are eager, the souls or the Jivatmas are very eager to take cross body also for doing their sensitive whatever they have.
yes, they are very eager. But again, actually, what happens is, Lord also puts people to different level of ignorance till that opportunity is there. Like for example, many times we give example of the suffering of the child in the womb. Now, if an active man is put in that state, he will die. So how is the child in the womb is able to survive? because he's put in that deep ignorance for that time. If he's not put in that deep ignorance, he would, die.
Not to survive.
He will not be able to survive. So same thing is true here also. So Lord has to put the jiva under different degrees of ignorance so that they can await. So if, otherwise, no, Lord will never make them so much suffer that no, they can't do anything. Because we find even the suffering in this world is like till a peak. If suffering goes beyond a level of peak level, then you'll find people fall unconscious. To their
Like
limit.
coma.
They go in coma. Too much suffering that they go in coma. It's like you can't sustain beyond that. But it's something like that. Okay.
Okay, okay, thank you, thank you.
Very good.
Text 15. Into that universal lotus flower, Lord Vishnu personally entered as a super soul. And when it was thus impregnated with all the modes of material nature, the personality of Vedic wisdom, whom we call the self-born, was generated. Text 16. Brahma, born out of the lotus flower, could not see the world, although he was situated in the world. He therefore circumambulated all of space, and while moving his eyes in all directions, he achieved 4 heads in terms of the 4 directions. Translation Text 17. Lord Brahma, situated in that lotus, could not perfectly understand the creation, the lotus or himself, and at the end of the millennium, the air of devastation began to move the water and the lotus in great circular waves. Purport. Lord Brahma was perplexed about his creation, and the lotus and the world, even though he tried to understand them for 1 millennium, which is beyond calculation in the solar years of human beings. No one, therefore, can know the mystery of the creation and cosmic manifestations simply by mental speculation. The human being is so limited in his capacity that without the help of Supreme, he can hardly understand the mystery of the will of the Lord in terms of creation, continuation, and destruction.
Thank you. So we'll go one by one from 15. We'll see some technical details. So Vishnu entered the lotus of all planets, which reveals all enjoyable objects. So what had happened is this lotus, which is made of all the planets, which has sprouted just now, at the time of devastation, it is there in the subtle form, and it rests on the body of Garbhodaksa Vishnu. So that time it is called Vairaj. And the Brahma is also sometimes called, our Brahma is called Vairaj Brahma for that reason. So this Vishnu, who is Antaryami, who is going to be like now Garbhodaksa Vishnu, he enters the lotus now. And this lotus was having all the effects of Gurun's niece. Swargaloka, Andarafloka, everything was there, already there. But it has to grossly manifest. And now Brahma appears within that lotus. So he sometimes called Swambhu, as if he is born on his own because he has no mother. But Garbhodaksa Vishnu is only his mother and father both. So Prabhupada would often give this example, that how everyone in this world is dependent, not self-sufficient. So men and women in this world want each other if they want to create some living entity, they want to create some child. But as far as Lord is concerned, Lakshmi was massaging his feet, and Lord didn't care for Lakshmi ji. He just knows sprouted lotus from his navel, and the first child Brahma was born. So that is how Lord is self-sufficient. So that's the reason sometimes Brahma is called Swambhu, although he's not like self-born. He comes from Lord Garbhodaksa Vishnu. So earlier he was merged with Lord Narayan in sleep, that means Garbhodaksa Vishnu, but now he wakes up. So Lord awoke, or the lotus awoke. And then the Brahma which came out, he's called Vairaj Brahma, as I was telling before. This lotus is called Vairaj, and the Brahma who came out is also called Vairaj Brahma. Brahma with the 4 heads. Called Vairaj Brahma. There is a subtle form is called Hiranyagarbha. Okay. So the subtle form of Brahma in which he lies on the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu is called Hiranyagarbha. Like I told, Hiranyagarbha has many definitions. So that Brahma who is there in the subtle body is called Hiranyagarbha. And when he comes in a gross form in top of lotus is called Vairaj Brahma. So these are 2 Brahmas, you can say. Same personality in subtle form is called Hiranyagarbha, and in its gross form is called Vairaj Brahma. So that is how the same Brahma is there. Okay. Now till now he has not got a 4 head. He is going to get a 4 head. So as soon as he will get a 4 head, then he'll be called as 4-headed Brahma, Chaturmukh Brahma. So now Brahmaji has 3 forms. You can remember all the 3 forms. So 3 forms are Hiranyagarbha in subtle form. When he gets a gross body, he's called Vairaj Brahma. And when he gets 4 heads, he's called Chaturmukh Brahma. So these are 3 forms of Brahma. Same Brahma with 3 forms. So I hope that is clear now, out 3 definitions. Because you'll find that these names will come again in the future also in Bhagavatam. So Vairaj Brahma comes and devotees become confused. What is this Vairaj Brahma? So same personality, subtle form Hiranyagarbha, gross form Vairaj Brahma, 4 heads, then it's called Chaturmukh Brahma. So 4 Brahmas, 3 Brahmas are there, or 3 manifestations of Brahma are there. And then what happens is Brahma, who is situated in the center of lotus, he was not able to see universal planets. Now he turns around his head. And because of that, he gets 4 head. Because he has to do all the duty all the time. He has to be careful about all the direction all the time. So now he generates 4 heads. It's like now for us, we don't have much responsibility. So we don't care for what is happening behind us. We are just worried about the angle of vision which we have. But Brahmaji has to be really careful. So it's like now he gets 4 heads. And with all the 4 heads, you are looking in the 4 direction. He couldn't find anything. So he's wondering, I am alone here. Nothing is there. Now, what is the purpose of my life? Now, why am I created? So he starts getting all these questions. Yeah. So this was there till 16, and we had done 17 also. Yes, we had done 17 also. So then what happens is, now Brahmaji, after thinking about that, he was bewildered about how to create. So now he wants to because to explain that power to create is coming from the Lord. All these details are given. So he was just taking shelter of the lotus from which he was born. And now he was astonished. He didn't knew the nature of the planet, the living beings, water, whirlpools. The wind of devastation was like shaking the lotus like this. So when he was sitting in the lotus, it's like sitting in a ship which is being shaken by the winds. So he was like that on the lotus. So he didn't know what to do. See, he did not understand the nature of the planet at all. Yes, sir. Amarin Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. For knowing for the all 4 direction Prabhuji, Brahmaji has got 4 head Prabhuji. But I read in Srimad Bhagavatam, I think 10th canto, 13th chapter, verse number 43. The Purport Prabhupada has written a story of when Brahma goes to Dwarka, he saw that 10 Mukhi Brahma or 100-headed Brahma, 1,000-headed Brahma, and he was thinking himself like a mosquito in the group of elephants. Prabhupada is writing there. So,
That is from
Prabhuji,
Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah.
okay.
Sanatan Shiksha. Yeah.
जी तो प्रभु जी when Brahma has had 10 lakhs headed, so his responsibility all big responsibility, or because four direction Brahma got four heads, so they get one matlab 10 lakhs of headed. How
Yeah.
forcing into
So,
the direction or
no,
more responsibility?
now it's like more responsibility or more directions. Some devotees say it's like there are many dimensions in other planets which we don't have. It's like we have only 4 dimensions or 4 directions. They have more directions. And also this our universe is the smallest.
Yes,
And that is
Prabhu.
why that's why we find that in the same sequence of the verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmadeva was feeling like a mouse in the heart of elephants. Like a mouse would feel in the heart of elephants. Similarly, he was feeling. And the reason was given was that our universe is the smallest.
Okay, Prabhu. See,
So,
I've listened somewhere that the diameter of our this universe is 50 crore of user. It is right, Prabhu.
4 billion miles. Yes, 50 crore users.
Okay, Prabhu. And all the planetary system, to 14 planetary system, is within the stem of this. The lotus came from the level of Garbhodak Sabhik.
Yes, yes.
So it's a matlab, this direction horizontal or parallel? Which direction? The sun, moon, or the all the stars, or sorry, planets are in this direction, or 14 planetary system like this direction only?
Actually, you said this and this, then we are on the earth now. So we'll move left or right. If we see in the 3D plane, we will be in the left or right. So actually speaking, now you'll hear all these details when it comes to 5th canto. So if we see from the plane of Bhumandal, they are in the vertical direction. And they are not just in vertical, there may be in other directions. So Prabhupada, I'll give any simple example of Prabhupada. Prabhupada will give example of chandelier. Like chandelier is there. Chandelier is fixed in one place, and through different pipes, strings, other things are put in place. So similarly, the hook or the central edge, no, not edge, you might say hook of the universe is Dhruv Loka. And through Dhruv Loka, all other are like connected like this. But Earth planet, as per explanation given by Pavaneshwar, he told that he has read from Bhugol Nirnay. So as per him, then he was saying that Earth is just kept like a golf ball on the Bhumandal. So that is a bit different. But other sun, etc. So they say, I'll not go in detail now. So it's like this Earth is like he says that Bhumandal is like an inverted funnel. We have a funnel. So it is like an inverted funnel. And on the periphery of that funnel, sun travels. That's why from a vertical distance point of view, sun is nearer to us and moon is far away. But when it comes to aerial distance wise, moon is nearer and sun is far away. So currently, aerial distance, aerial point to point. If we take point to, you can say displacement of point to point from Earth. If you take distance, then which is nearer? Moon is nearer. Sun is far away. But if we take the vertical distance from Bhumandal, sun is nearer and moon is far away. Well, it is like an inverted funnel. So that's the reasons Puranic version and the modern theory is different.
Yes.
So he speaks like that. I personally didn't go through Bhugol Nirnay. One devotee was gifting me that time. I didn't took. Later on, I didn't get that book. So in that book, all these details are given very vividly. And Prabhupada did mention that we can take all these details from Madhva Sampradaya. Because one of the acharyas of Madhva Sampradaya, they claim that he is going to be next Vayu. And he is getting a apprenticeship under the current Vayu. And because Vayu can travel everywhere, so he knows about Bhumandal very nicely. So that Acharya has written one book. So in that book, all these descriptions are given very vividly. And our devotees who are working in TOAP are like collecting things from also. Okay.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hari. Yes. Now, so we had until 17th. Yes. Now you can read 18, 19, and 19th purport.
Text 18, translation. Lord Brahma, in his ignorance, contemplated, who am I that I am situated on the top of this lotus? Wherefrom hath it sprouted? There must be something downwards, and that from which the lotus has grown, must be within the water. Text 19, translation. Lord Brahma, thus contemplating, entered the water through the channel of the stem of the lotus. But in spite of entering the stem and going nearer to the navel of Vishnu, he could not trace out the route. Purport. By dint of one's personal endeavor, one may go nearer to the Lord, but without the Lord's mercy, one cannot reach the ultimate point. Such understanding of the Lord is possible only by devotional service, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 1855, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Yavanyaschasmi Tatvata.
So then Brahmaji starts asking, who am I? Who is sitting on this lotus? From where this lotus came out? And I find only water, water, water everywhere, except this lotus. So is there something below that lotus also? So all these questions come out because he was, was he searching for the foundation of the lotus? Because I read this in the 7th Canto commentary of Vishwajay Thakur, that general plants and trees, they lose the seed after they grow into the tree. But lotus is a special plant in the sense that even when the lotus grows, the origin, the seed remains there within the root. And from there we call it Kamal Gata. It's like, we take out Makhana from there. So these are lotus seeds. So he thought this lotus is there, means there has to be seed. And of course that seed is Garbhodaksha Vishnu only. From him the lotus came. So he wanted to know about the origin. Now, from where am I originated? So he knew that I'm originated from this lotus, but he wanted to know the origin of lotus also. And because of that desire, he entered into the tube of the stem of lotus. And he was searching for the navel of Vishnu, which is like a lake from which the lotus came out. But he was not able to reach it. So this shows that even if we have intelligence like Brahma, who has 4 heads, whose entire body is made up of intelligence, by all materialistic endeavors, if you try to understand Lord, we can't understand. Like Brahma was trying. She entered in the tubes of the lotus. He searched for the lotus navel of Narayan, from which the stem of lotus came out. So he approached very close, but he couldn't reach it. Why? Because one can't approach Lord unless until one has bhakti. Bhaktya tu ananya sakya evam vai vedo Arjuna. Gyatum saktum. So this verse says that only by bhakti one can know. Gyatum dashyantu tatvena. Pravishyantu parantapa. So that is how one can understand the Lord only by bhakti. Yes. Now please read 20, 21, 22.
O Vidura, while searching in the way about his existence, Brahma reached his ultimate time, which is eternal wheel in the hands of Vishnu, and which generates fear in the mind of living entity like the fear of death. Text 21. Thereafter, being unable to achieve the desired destination, he retired from such searching and came back again on the top of the lotus. Thus, controlling all objectives, he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Lord. Text 22. At the end of Brahma's 100 years, when his meditation was complete, he developed the required knowledge. As a result, he could see in his art the Supreme within himself, whom he could not see before with the greatest endeavor, purpose. The Supreme Lord can be experienced only through the process of devotional service and not only by the personal endeavor in mental speculation. The age of Brahma is calculated in the terms of Divya years, which are distinct from the solar years of human being. And Divya years are calculated in, as it is said in Bhagavad Gita 8. Sas Yug Paryatam Ahar Yad Brahma Vidu. Brahma's one day is equal to 1000 times then the aggregate of 4 yugas calculated to be 43 lakhs. On the basis of that, Brahma meditated for the 100 years before he could understand the supreme causes of all causes, and then he wrote the Brahm Samhita, which is approved and recognized by Lord Chaitanya, in and in which he sings Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. One has to wait for the mercy of Lord before one can render service unto him or know him as he is.
Please 23rd also.
Brahma could see on that on the water there was a gigantic lotus like white dead state, the body of Nag Shesh Nag, sorry, on which the personality of Godhead was lying alone. The whole atmosphere was illuminated by the rays of jewels, beginning the hood of Shesh Nag, and that illumination dissipated the all darkness of those regions.
Thank you. So then what happens is 100 years pass for Brahma, who was searching for a source. And that time, the chakra of Vishnu, which proclaims the death of embodied soul, destroys the lifespan. That means Brahmaji was practically his entire life was spent. Now Brahmaji will stay for 100 years. It's not like that. But that means it took such a long time for him that practically for almost you can say whole life was spent in just searching for Vishnu. Which shows that even the most intelligent person for practically whole life of research in a materialistic way cannot get Lord Vishnu. Not possible. So then what did he do? He gave up his search. After giving up his search, he returned to the lotus flower. Then he controlled his breaths. He controlled his mind. And he remained seated in complete concentration by the meditation of the Lord. So one who gives up his pride of material excellence, he can actually meditate on Lord. So many times we are not able to chant very attentively because still we have faith on our own material endeavors. So only when we have no faith on our material endeavors, we understand that no, this is the only way to get Krishna. Just take his shelter. Then we can take complete shelter. So that giving up that search, he returned to the lotus and he starts controlling his mind and sat down. And then he achieved the samadhi. And again, for hundreds of years, he was just meditating. So of course, this is like time according to earthly planet. Brahmaji 100 years were over, then gone. So now according to human calculation, it was 100 years. So by a mature state reached through the meditation on the Lord, he saw the Lord. So he said that you have manifested this eternal personal form upon whom your devotees meditate. So he saw the Lord who manifested himself in the heart and for whom he was searching, because he was the foundation of the lotus. So through meditation in Bhakti Yoga, he could see. And after seeing him, the beauty of the Lord of whom you are taking darshan is described, that we will see after the break. So it's already 11:35, 11:36. Maybe we can come back at 11:50. We can have a good break. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So devotees are back, then we can just start. Yeah. So now the beauty of the Lord is described here. So they're beautiful, beautiful verses. So this one you can repeat after me. Preksham chipantam haritopalatre
Eksham Shipam Tam Haritopaladre
sandhya braniver ururukma murdanaha
Sandhya Bhanive Ururukma Mardha
ratno dadaro sadiso manasya
Ratno Dadaro Sadhi Somanasya
vanasrajo venu jugangri pangre.
Vana Sajo Venu Bhujangri Pangre.
Please read translation and purport.
The luster of the transcendental body of the Lord, marked by the beauty of the coral mountains. The coral mountains is very beautifully dressed by the evening sky, but the yellow dress of the Lord marked its beauty. There is gold on the summit of the mountain, but the Lord's helmet, bedecked with jewels, marked it. The mountains, waterfalls, herbs, etc., with a panorama of flowers, seem like garlands, but the Lord's gigantic body and his hands and legs, decorated with jewels, pearls, tulsi leaves, and flower garlands, mark the scene on the mountain. Should I read the purport also?
Yes, yes.
The purport, the panoramic beauty of nature, which strikes one with wonder, may be taken as a perverted reflection of the transcendental body of the Lord. One who is therefore attracted by the beauty of the Lord is no longer attracted by the beauty of material nature, although it does not minimize its beauty. In Bhagavad Gita 2.59, it is described that one who is attracted by Param, the Supreme, is no longer attracted by anything inferior.
Yeah. So you see in this chart, bodily luster of the mountain mocked the beauty of coral mountain. Yellowish garments of the Lord Pitambari. Because it is also like saffron. So it mocked the beauty of evening sky. The crown of the Lord bedecked with jewels mocked the beauty of the mountain, which is the golden summit. Because minerals are found at the summit of the mountain. So a mountain which has golden summit, that it was not beautiful, as much beautiful as Lord's crown. And Lord's limbs decorated with ornaments, tulsi and garlands, mock the beauty of mountain which is decorated with waterfalls, herbs, etc. Please read it 25th now.
His transcendental body, unlimited in length and breadth, occupied the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. His body was self-illuminated by unparalleled dress and variegatedness and was properly ornamented. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of transcendental rays from his moonlight toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a flower. Should I read the purport also, Prabhuji?
Actually,
26.
maybe we can recite the verse, then you can read the purport.
Okay,
So I just
sure.
recite the verse. Pumsam swakamaya vivektamarger
Pumsam Sokamaya Vivekta Margai
abhyarchatam kam dugangri padmam
Abhyachata Kamurkangri Padma
padarsayantam kripaya nakedu
Tadayantam Kripayana Kendro
mayuke bhinnanguli charupatram.
Mayuka Pinnangli Charupatram.
Now you can read the purport.
The Lord fulfills the desires of everyone just as one desires. Pure devotees are interested in achieving the transcendental service of the Lord, which is non-different from him. Therefore, the Lord is only desire of the pure devotees, and devotional service is the only spotless process for achieving his favor. Srila Rup Goswami says in Bhakti Sarasamrit Sindhu 1.1.11 that pure devotional service is Janma Karmadi Anavratam. Pure devotional service is without any tinge of speculative knowledge and fruitive activities. Such devotional service is able to award the pure devotee the highest result, namely direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. According to Gopal Tapani Upanishad, the Lord showed one of the many thousands of petals of his lotus feet. It is said, Brahmano asav anavratam me dhyayata stuta prarardhante sa abudhyata gopavesho me purastat avirbhavuva. After penetrating for millions of years, Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of Lord S. Sri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy, and thus he recorded his experience in Brahma Samhita in the famous prayer Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Thank you. So the dimension of the Lord is mentioned. He's so huge. He has covered lower planetary system, Sargloka, no, Prithvi Loka, everything. So his body is spread all over the world. His various stunning ornaments and clothes are created by his own beauty. And he had a power of having any cloth which he desired. And then Brahmaji saw the lotus feet which were fulfilling desires of those devotees who worship the Lord on different paths. So that is how Vivekta Margir, that means by paths which are not mixed with Jnana and Karma, like Raghavanaga Bhakti, Vedisadhana Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, or Dasa, Sakharas, etc. Whoever worships the Lord by them, they get their desire fulfilled by worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. And Lord was showing only one foot. Now, by lifting it slightly, so that Brahmaji can see the feet. Because Brahmaji had a desire to serve the Lord, and Lord wanted to fulfill the desire of Brahmaji. So Lord lifted the feet little bit, so that Brahmaji can see the lotus feet of the Lord. And then Lord also showed his form as Krishna, which explained in this verse and the next two verses, as Prabhupada quotes. Because Krishna is the one who shows his one feet by bending the feet. So Prabhupada actually, he is also quoting from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Lord revealed his form of Krishna also. Because Vishnu is concerned, if we see the form of Vishnu, he stands in such a way, he stands on both the feet. So the base of the feet of Lord Vishnu is not visible. But Krishna stands in such a way that his one foot is visible to the devotees, so that they can see the markings. So Lord says, okay, you want to fulfill that desire? Come here, take shelter of this feet. So this proves that this particular form of Krishna was revealed to Brahma here by Lord Narayan. But many devotees ask question that now, did he see the Brahma see the form of Krishna or Narayan? He saw the form of Krishna also here. So his toes were like graceful petals, and his toenails, from there the effulgence was coming out, which are moon-like. And this particular effulgence removes the ignorance in the heart of devotees and reveals the knowledge of Upanishads. So one who takes the darshan of lotus toenails of the Lord, toenails of the lotus feet of the Lord, gets knowledge of Upanishads. So if you want to clear your Bhakti Yoga exam, take darshan of toenails of the Lord. You'll get all the knowledge. Yeah. So there it is compared to moonlight, not the sunlight, because moonlight and sunlight both dispel the darkness, but sunlight, especially in the summer season, is not very pleasing. But moonlight in general is very pleasing. After a person works so hard in the whole day, when he lies down under moonlight, he gets the coolness of the moonlight and that removes his fatigue. So that's why the light coming from the toenails of the Lord is compared to moonlight. And then this verse comes, beautiful verse. This is like worth memorizing. This gives detailed description of beauty of Lord. Mukhena lokarti harasmitena
Mukhena loka atiharasmena
parisurat kundala manditena
Parisaparathakundala
sonayitena darabimba bhasa
Shonayitena Bhasa
prittarhayantam sunasena subhra.
Rahyantam Sunasena Subhrava.
Yes, please read translation and the purport.
He also acknowledged the service of devotees and vanquished their distress by his beautiful smile. The reflection of his face, decorated with earrings, was so pleasing because it dazzled with the rays from his lips and beauty of his nose and eyebrows. Purport. Devotional service to the Lord is very much obliging to him. There are many transcendentalists in different fields of spiritual activities, but devotional service to the Lord is unique. Devotees don't ask anything from the Lord in exchange for their service. Even the most desirable liberation is refused by the devotees, although offered by the Lord. Thus, the Lord becomes a kind of debtor to the devotee, and he can only try to repay the devotee's service with his ever-enchanting smile. The devotees are ever satisfied by the smiling face of the Lord, and they become leavened. And by seeing the devotees so leavened, the Lord himself is further satisfied. So there is continuous transcendental competition between the Lord and his devotee by such reciprocation of service and acknowledgement. Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So there's like a beautiful verse. So in this verse it is written that how as devotees worship the Lord and they don't accept anything in return. Lord says, you want Indrasan, Chandrasan or post of Brahma? They say, no, we don't want. Lord says, I'll give you liberation. Devotees say, we don't want liberation. Then Lord thinks what to do. So then he says that I will also worship them in return. And how he worships them? By showing his beautiful face. Because that gives pleasure to the heart of devotees. And the devotees, because they're longing to take darshan of the Lord destroys that suffering of longing by showing his beautiful face. And that is how he shows his, it's like he indicates by one eyebrow. He raises his eyebrow. And that is how he says, I'm present in front of you. So there's a confidential emotion of Krishna which Krishna shows to his special devotees. So devotees only want to take darshan of the Lord, and Lord destroys the suffering by giving the darshan. So this similar verse will come further in your Kapil Siksha also. Hasam harer avatana khilaloka tibra soka srusagar vishoshanamattadaram sammohanaya rachitam nijamaya yasya bhrumandalam munikrite makaradhajasya. So this beautiful verse which says that living entities after coming in this material world, that it becomes a sagar. They cry so many tears of distress that whole sagar will be filled. So kasru sagar. But then what happens? Vishoshanam. Everything gets evaporated by taking the darshan of the smile of the Lord. Similarly, Lord has created his eyebrows by his internal potency for the benefit of munis who are always harassed by the arrows of Kamdev. So Munis who try to control the senses are harassed by arrows of Kamdev. But when they take darshan of the eyebrows of the Lord act like another bow. So Kamdev has a sugarcane bow, and flower arrows. And like a person who is hit by stones or by arrow will try to run away. But a person hit by flower doesn't run away. So similarly, when Kamdev shoots the arrows, people say shoot more, shoot more. No, they're not even aware that we are being shooten by Kamdev. So they suffer, but they like it. So what Lord has done is, Lord has created his eyebrows, which are like bow. So they're connected like a bow. And his glances act like arrow. So he shoots the arrows of his glances by those bow. And these glances, they destroy the arrows of Cupid, Kamdev. So that is how Lord destroys the arrows of Kamdev by that. Bhrumandalam Munikite. So same thing. His smile and his eyebrows are mentioned in this verse also. Yeah. Now you can read further, text 28.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I've read in the book of Radha Sabri, spiritual scientist, God and God's topic was that Lord Krishna has many times shows the form of Vishnu to his devotee, but Lord Vishnu never saw Lord Krishna's form to his devotee. He has written Prabhuji in that book. But you have said in the previous verse that Garbhodak Sai Vishnu shown the form of Lord Krishna, so that Brahma described Govindam Adi Posam. How this is, we can.
Yeah. So the actual reality, there's no difference between Vishnu and Krishna. No difference. No difference
Ji.
between Vishnu, no difference between Krishna, no difference between Narayan, Ram, Narsingh, everybody is same.
Ji.
Only difference is difference in the mood. So like a person in office is compared to Lord Narayan, person in home is Krishna. Same person. But the point is that can a person in office exhibit his form in the home? Yes, if he returns to the home, he can do that. But one can reciprocate in higher rasas only in the home, not in the office. Office, even the father, mother, or the wife, children of the person comes, he cannot have like no intimate relationship.
He will deal formally.
He'll deal very formally. So similarly, Lord Narayan behaves very formally, Krishna behaves very intimately. That is the only difference between Narayan and Krishna. So that's why when it comes to power, there's no difference. It is like we have this example of Deep Archev. This verse is there. They are like deep, same lamps. Then how do we say Krishna is superior? Only in terms of rasas. That's why if you talk about powers, we will always have debate with other sampradayas and even with the other people. So sometimes you will find that Lord Ram is creating Sivling and worshipping Sivling. People have a confusion. They say, no, Lord Shiva and Ram are on equal this. Sometimes Ram worships Shiva, sometimes Shiva worships Ram. So
Yes,
based on just power, certainly we know that Shiva has 55 qualities, Lord Ram has 60 qualities. But we can't discriminate much or have a strong appeal in the outside world in the terms of power. But we certainly have a very strong appeal in the terms of rasa. You ask anyone who is more attractive, Krishna or any demigod or Lord Narayan. What will be the answer?
Krishna.
No doubt about it. You go to any temple. I went in so many temples in South India. Even if there are temple of Dasavatar, other incarnations, maximum sculptures are the sculptures of Krishna only. Because nobody has done such fascinating pastimes like Krishna. And that is the reason even Vrajavasis, those who are really acharyas in Vraja, like Ramesh Baba and many other people who are bona fide, they glorify Rup Goswami for Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Because on the basis of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the devotees of Krishna can very clearly prove that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Other things may be confusing. They may be like here, there, everywhere. So there's no doubt that Krishna is most attractive personality in the creation. No doubt about it. Okay. So other things are debatable many times.
That's what we I asked Rohit. But here he told that Lord Garbhodaksa Vishnu showed in Krishna's form. But to proving that Krishna is the supreme personality and Krishna is the creator of all Vishnus and Purusa avatar, he has written that particular word that we have never read in any scripture that Vishnu shown the Krishna form. But he has given different examples from the Bhagavatam and different scriptures that Krishna shows his Vishnu form or every all incarnation form.
Actually, what has happened is Prabhupada is in some purpose written like that. But when we read Prabhupada books, we have to read in completion. Some places, what Prabhupada speaks is, Lord Ram can also play on flute. But even if he plays on flute, who will come? If Lord Ram starts playing on flute, all Ayodhya will think, no, kya ho gaya, kya khali unhone ko, kya ho gaya, no, what did he eat today? No, why is he playing on flute today? They won't come and dance with him. So that's why, depending on the devotees, Lord also reciprocates like that. So devotees of Krishna want to deal with Krishna very intimately. Krishna also deals very intimately. But other forms, they are like Krishna in office. So people want formal, they also want formal. So it is like that. Yad yad yato urgaya vibhavyanti tattad vapu pranay se sad anugrahaya. So in whatever bhav a devotee worships, Lord also appears in that bhav. So in Vrindavan, Krishna is Lord as he likes.
Yes,
In other planets, Lord is as devotees like. So like in home, we are on our own. No formalities. In home, it's like, no, the way you want to go here and there, whatever you want to do, you're open. But in office, we are very careful. We have to deal according to the scenario of the office and the public who are coming, how they will respect you and how they will deal with you. So Lord is very careful there. But in Vrindavan, he is like in home. He does no restriction.
whatever you want.
Whatever he wants.
And Prabhuji, one thing, just I want to comment that in Radha Kripa Kataksa, I think it's mentioned that the bow, you have given example, the arrow and the bow. Radha Rani is also seeing on the Krishna the same bow and arrow example was there also in Radha Kripa Kataksa.
So there it's like more of a exchange of rasas. And here it is more from a type of, we are taking shelter of Krishna.
Yes, yes.
So the bhav is different. It's not a bhav of exchanging love with Krishna. It's the bhav of, no, oh Lord, please come and save me. I'm getting harassed by the arrows of Kamdev. Please come and save me.
we don't have like arrow like that.
Yeah. So that is
Thank
different.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hari. Yeah. So now we'll go to the next verse, this 29th.
28 we have to.
22 we have to do?
Yes.
Or, okay, yeah, 28 we have to do. Yes,
Yeah,
please read 28.
Yes. Verse 28 translation. O my dear Vidur, the Lord's waist was covered with yellow cloth resembling the saffron dust of the kadam flower, and it was encircled by a well-decorated belt. His chest was decorated with Shrivats marking and a necklace of unlimited value.
Yeah. So his necklace was there on the chest, having Srivats mark. So he was wearing a pitambari, which was like golden kadamba. Kadamba because shines like anything. If you have seen kadamba flowers in the moonlight, they shine so beautifully. We had a kadamba tree when I was in Calcutta. We had a kadamba flowers would come up, and he was wearing this necklace, which was decorated in the chest of the Lord, which had Srivats mark. Yes, sir. Daruka Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So that I wanted to confirm that the Srivas marking, which is one of the sign that the person is Krishna or Lord himself, Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Srivas is with Krishna only or with other avatars like Ram or Narasimha, Vishnu, Vibhudaksha Vishnu. So all they have carried this same Srivasa marks or only Krishna has this mark?
No, all the avatars have this mark. So it's like golden line on the chest of the Lord. Hare. Now 29. You can repeat this verse after me. Paradekeyurmani praveka
परार्धकेयोरपणि प्रवेक
paryasya dordanda sahasrasakham
पर्यास्त्रदोदण्डसहस्रशाखम्
avyakta moolam bhuvanangritendram
अव्यक्तमूलं
Yaktamulam Bhavanangri
ahindra bhoger adivite valsam.
महेन्द्रभोगे अधिवेतवल्सम्
Please read translation purport. Who was the next one?
As the sandalwood tree is decorated with fragrant flowers and branches, the Lord's body was decorated with valuable jewels and pearls. He was the self-situated tree, the Lord of Lord's body, the Lord of all other in the universe. As the sandalwood tree is covered with many snakes, so the Lord's body was also covered by the hoods of Ananta. Purport. The word Avyaktamulam is significant here. Generally, no one can see the roots of a tree, but as far as the Lord is concerned, He is the root of Himself because there is no other separate cause of His standing but He Himself. In the Vedas, it is said that the Lord is Sarv Ashwarya Swa what I don't know how to pronounce it, Prabhuji.
Swasraya yasraya. Swasraya yasraya.
Swashre Ashraya. He is his own support, and there is no other support for him. Therefore, Avyakta means the Supreme Lord Himself and no one else. Shall I read the table as well?
Yes, you can read the text. Yes.
Thank you. And sandalwood tree. Valuable jewels and pearls on the arms as compared to fragrant flowers and branches of sandalwood tree. Lord is origin of all other in the universe. As self-situated tree, roots cannot be seen. Garbhodashai Vishnu is the protector of the whole world, and as sandalwood tree, king of all trees. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is covered by many hoods of Ananta, as sandalwood tree is covered by many snakes.
Thank you. So, like sandalwood tree is known for perfume. It gives good fragrance. So, similarly, the Lord's fame perfumes the whole world, whole universe. So, as sandalwood is known for fragrance, Lord's fame is spread everywhere. So, like Lord has thousands of arms which spread all over the universe. Similarly, sandalwood tree also has thousands of branches which spreads everywhere. Not everywhere in the sense in the nearby area. Like sandalwood trees, roots cannot be seen. They are under the earth. Similarly, Lord cannot be traced out from where he began. So if you tell that no, from where Brahma came, Brahma came from Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, from where he came? He came from Karnodaksha Vishnu. From where Karnodaksha Vishnu came? He came from Mahasankarsan. From where Mahasankarsan came? From Narayan. Then Mool Sankarsan. From Balram. Then Krishna. From where Krishna came? You cannot trace out. He returned that. So that is how Lord is also beginningless. By one food, that is why he's compared to trees. And now with one food, he protects the world and has great power. Bhavan Nangripan Indram. So that is how Lord controls over ek paad vibhuti, 1/4 of the creation of this material world, by his 1 feet. So like sandalwood is king of trees, Lord is also king of all the living. And as Lord's shoulders are touched by the hoods of Caesar, sandalwood is covered by hundreds of branches. And or sandalwood is also covered by many snakes also, Ahindra, other snakes. So somehow Lord is Lord, and it is so different. Like normally serpents of this world, they make a person fearful. But Lord Anantadev is such a serpent, people feel freedom from fear when they approach him. So that difference between Lord and the ordinary living entity. So Lord is always Lord. Now we'll go to next verse. Chara ko Bhagavan Mahindram
चराचरों को भगवान
Ahindra Bandhom Salilope Gudam
Mahindra Bandhum Salilapagudam
महिन्द्रबन्धुगुणम्
Kiriti Sahasra Hiranna Sringam
किरीटसहस्रहिरण्यशृङ्गम्
Avirbhavat Kaustubharatna Garbham.
आविर्भवत्कौस्तुभरत्नगर्भम्.
This is translation and purport.
Translation. Like a great mountain, the Lord stands as the abode for all moving and non-moving living entities. He is a friend of the snakes because Lord Ananta is his friend. As a mountain has thousands of golden peaks, so the Lord was seen with the thousands of golden helmeted hoods of Anantanav. And as a mountain is sometimes filled with jewels, so also his transcendental body was fully decorated with valuable jewels. As a mountain is sometimes submerged in the ocean water, so the Lord is sometimes submerged in the water of devastation. Should we read this table?
Yeah, now you can read the table.
Garbhodakshai Vishnu and the great mountain, shelter of all moving and non-moving entities, shelter of all creatures in the mountain. Lord Ananta is his friend, Ahindra Bandhu, friend of the snakes. Thousands of golden helmeted hoods of Ananta, thousands of golden peaks, decorated with valuable jewels, filled with jewels, sometimes submerged in water of devastation, sometimes submerged in the ocean.
Yeah. So in the previous verse, Lord was compared to sandalwood tree, and now Lord is compared to the sandalwood mountain. Why? To show that Lord is his own shelter. So Lord takes his own shelter. Lord doesn't take shelter of anyone else. So Lord is a Malaya mountain, like Malaya mountain is shelter of moving and non-living living beings. Lord is shelter of all the living entities. Like Malaya mountain is a friend of snakes. Many snakes stay in the mountain, especially which is covered with sandalwood trees. So similarly, Lord is also a friend of Ananta. Like a mountain is sometimes surrounded by the ocean. Between you'll find some ocean, some mountains are between the ocean. Similarly, Lord is also surrounded by milk ocean. Now ocean of milk. And now like mountain has golden pinnacles, the peaks. Similarly, Lord Ananta has thousands of crowns. Himalaya mountain is famous for having one golden pinnacle. Similarly, Lord also has one crown. And like mountain has many jewel mines, Lord also has caustic gel. Lord is decorated with caustic gel. So that is whole comparison there. Yes, Daruk Krishna, we had a question?
So
Answer.
I had a question. I think this will be clear in more in the fifth canto, so I withdraw it.
Okay.
I having a doubt that how that Lord is submerging in water that time with the devastation water.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
his place is not in this 14 planetary system where even Brahma is not getting devastated with this devastation water, then how the Vishnu is getting there?
Okay, this is like in the bottom of the universe. In the bottom of the universe, half of the universe is covered by Garbhodak Sagar. And that is what we are talking about. So this Garbhodak Sagar, it goes very high at the beginning of creation. And then from the lotus navel of the Lord, this lotus comes out. And because of that effulgence, this water of devastation is dried up. So this Garbhodak Sagar, this below 14 planetary system. Okay. Yeah. Now please read 31, 32, 33, last three verses.
Text 31 translation. Lord Brahma, thus looking upon the Lord in the shape of a mountain, concluded that he was Hari, the personality of Godhead. He saw that the garland of flowers on his chest glorified him with Vedic wisdom in sweet songs and looked very beautiful. He was protected by the Sudarshan, wheel for fighting, and even the sun, moon, air, fire, etc. could not have access to him. Text 32 translation. When Lord Brahma, the maker of the universal destination, thus saw the Lord, he simultaneously glanced over creation. Lord Brahma saw the lake in Lord Vishnu's navel and the lotus flower, as well as the devastating water, the drying air, and the sky. All became visible to him. Text 33 translation. Lord Brahma, thus being satisfied with the mode of passion, became inclined to create. And after seeing the five causes of creation indicated by the personality of Godhead, he began to offer his respectful prayers on the path of the creative mentality.
Thank you. So after describing the Lord as mountain, now Brahma reveals that this mountain, who is that mountain? That is Supreme Lord only. He cannot be understood by any demigods like sun, moon, air, fire. He was surrounded by states like Jai Vijay, whose bodies are made up of Sri Dhamabhi. Sri Dhamabhi means Satchit Anand. You are decorated with spiritual weapons like chakra. He was hard to reach. And he was like surrounded by Vedas personified. Bees were singing his glories. They were singing his glories, not like just ordinary bees. So he was there. And Brahma had a desire to create variety in the universe. But he was not able to see anything except lotus, Lord's navel, and water, air, ether, these three elements. Yeah. So he was wondering, how should I create? How should I create variety in the world? So influenced by Rajaguna and intent on creating, and with a desire to create the offsprings, Brahma glanced at the lotus, which had elements for or ingredients of creation. But then he concentrated his mind on the Lord and began to praise the Lord. Brahma thought, how shall I create? He said, how shall I create? Only Lord can explain that. Let me surrender to the Lord now. So he gave up the absorption from creation, or he withdrew his consciousness from creation, and he concentrated his mind on Supreme Lord now. So we have to do it daily when we do japa. We should withdraw our consciousness from all other subjects and just focus on the holy name of the Lord. Or even during our services, our arti, withdraw our consciousness from everyone else. Just focus on the Lord. So now can we go to 3.9? Or you can share. I sent it to mail.
Yes, I share Prabhuji.
Okay.
Hope
Yes.
this is visible.
So now, yeah, it is visible now. So now, in chapter number 9, we'll see Brahma's prayers. Especially 1 to 25 are Brahma's prayers for creative impetus. So Lord's supreme form, how Lord's form is supreme, is explained in first 5 verses. 6 to 7, 6 to 10 explains about the predicament of the conditioned souls. 11 to 13 discusses about Lord's reciprocation with the devotees. 14 to 21 is obeisances to the Lord. And 20 to 25, he requests Lord for being empowered for creation. That is the now we can directly come read 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 verses translation devotee can do. Of course.
Lord Brahma said, "O my Lord, today, after many of years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. My Lord, you are only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. You exist as a supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter. Text 2. The form which I see is eternal, freed from material contamination, and has advantage to show the mercy to the devotee as manifestation of eternal potency. This incarnation is the origin of many other incarnations, and I am born from the lotus flower grown from your navel home. Text 3. O my Lord, I do not see a form superior to your present form of eternal bliss and knowledge. In your impersonal Brahman influence in the spiritual sky, there is no occasional change and no deterioration of eternal potency. I surrender unto you because whereas I am proud of my material body and senses, your Lordship is the cause of the cosmic manifestation, and yet you are untouched by the matter. Text 4. This present form or any transcendental form expanded by a supreme personality of Godhead Shri Krishna is equally auspicious for all the universe. Since you have manifested this eternal personal form upon whom your devotees meditate, I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Those who are destined to be dispatched to the path of hell neglect your personal form because of speculating on material topics.
Thank you. So this verse shows that after attaining mercy only, after attaining mercy of the Lord, one can attain the Lord. So text number 1. So this Brahmaji could meet the Lord only after he obtained the mercy of the Lord by meditating on him for 100 years. So Brahmaji says, you are known to me after meditating for such a long time. I was thinking, I will meditate on the form I had understood through previous meditations. But I never meditated on such a beautiful form. I never meditated on such a beautiful form. So your beauty is unsurpassable. So whatever pretense I was doing through my knowledge was useless. I was trying to understand you, it was all useless. So your form is really extraordinary. So I wanted to see the Lord in the form upon which I was meditating. But that was futile. Because when somebody meditates, especially yogis, they imagine the form of the Lord within the heart, as per scriptures. But he said that form which I was meditating and thinking Lord will come in this form, your form is much more superior and beyond of what I was imagining. So that attempt was futile because the particle of your beauty cannot be compared to beauty of blue lotus, fresh rail cloud, etc., which we imagine. Like we call Krishna as Ghanshyam. Like he has a beauty of fresh rain cloud. But Lord is more beautiful than fresh rain cloud. So although I was meditating on that form, you became visible in this form, which is so beautiful. So greatness of your mercy cannot be expressed in words. So one who experiences your sweetness laments for others, and that is why pure devotees preach. When they experience sweetness of Krishna, they understand that all the people in the world are bereft of relishing that sweetness. So that is how they see that whole world is suffering. So those who have bodies full of faults, they don't know your true nature. They do not experience such a sweetness and beauty. So that's why you are goal for those who have bodies. So then Lord says, Brahmaji, you are speaking as if I am the most sweet person in the whole world. Couldn't you find any other thing which is more sweeter than me? That's why you are saying that other people are wasting their time. Brahmaji says, no. There's nothing other than you that is worthy object of knowledge. Now, so you are the only Bhagavan. You are the only object to be relished by eyes, ears, and all other senses. So there is nothing better than you. So then Lord says, okay, you're talking about pleasure, but there is Swargloka where people enjoy so much of sensual happiness. Brahmaji says that happiness is not pure. It is temporary. It is not eternal. It is not fully agreeable. It is disagreeable. Why? Because it changes. It changes in due course of time. It is also very limited and very less, the pleasure in Swargloka. Apart from that, it is impure. Nah. Like the enjoyment of lusty crows cannot be enjoyed by swans. Similarly, those who are pure cannot enjoy such impure happiness. So that's why Swarga and other happiness cannot be compared to your happiness. So then Lord says, my dear Brahma, but this form that you have described is current, something which you are seeing today. But let us say if it is not eternal, what will happen? Nah? So you are saying as if it is eternal. So Brahmaji was worrying that Lord is joking with him. So Brahmaji speaks that no, my Lord, your form is actually eternal. It is made up of your Chit Shakti, means spiritual potency, internal energy. Your form is devoid of Maya. It has no Maya. So because your form is, that is why your form is eternal. So it is not that you accepted this form at a point of time. You always had this form. Some people with material minds will say that this means that the Lord accepts material qualities. He says no. Lord's form is spiritual, it is not material. So then Lord says, but some people say that the original form is Brahman without qualities. Lord has no qualities, Lord is Nirguna. So then Brahmaji answers by verse number 3. Huh? So Brahmaji says, oh my Lord, I do not see this form as different from your form of Brahman, which is without qualities and bliss. Because Brahman is your feature only. So your form includes Brahman. Brahman doesn't include this form. So those who worship only Brahman, they can't see this form. But those who see your form automatically see Brahman. Because your effulgence is all pervading in form of Brahman, which is not restricted by time, space, or anything. No. Yeah. So in this way, so then Lord says, so Brahman and personal form are one. Where do you reside? Which form you like? You like Brahman or you like personal form? So then Brahmaji says, I love your one form who creates the universe, your current form. Then he says, no, I am not the creator. You, Brahma, are the creator. So Brahmaji says, no, my Lord, you are also different from the universe. You are spiritual and I am material. So he says, I can gain pleasure by body, senses, mind, but you are spiritual. So you are the actual creator. I am a secondary creator. You are the primary creator. So that is how Brahmaji, he glorifies the Lord. And then further, after that, Lord says, but why you are taking shelter of personal form? Why not impersonal Brahman? So then Brahmaji says the form with qualities is for the benefit of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Those who want dharma, artha, kama, moksha, for them there is impersonal Brahman. But your worship of personal form automatically produces those benefits. So why to just worship impersonal Brahman? By worshipping you automatically will get all those results. And your personal form was revealed to me in my meditation. I didn't see impersonal Brahman, I saw your personal form. And that's why I offer respect to personal form, which is ocean of spiritual qualities. So let me serve you only, not the impersonal Brahman. So please tell me what service can I do for you? So Lord says, but some persons say that this form is not full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. This is material. And that is why they don't respect me. Brahmaji says, those who don't respect, they will fall in hell. Nakar bhage. So those who think that your form is false, asat, then such people, they will go to hell. So Brahmaji is criticizing those who are Mayavadis and they say that Lord's form is material. He criticized them very heavily in text number 4. And now we'll go to text number 5. And this verse is very famous. So you can repeat after me. Okay. Now devotees can see that verse. ये तु त्वदीय चरणाम्बुज कोशगन्धम्
ये तो त्वदीय चरणाम्बोज कोशगन्धम्
जिग्रन्थि कर्ण विवरे श्रुतिवातनीतम्
जिघ्रन्ति कर्णविवर श्रुतिवातनीतम्
भक्त्या गृहीत चरणा परया च तेषाम्
भक्त्यागृहीत चरणा परया च तेषाम्
नापैसि नाथ हृदयाम् बुरुहा स्वपुंसाम्
नापैसि नाथ हृदयाम् बुरुहां स पुंसाम्
Please read the translation and the purport both.
O my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound through the holes of the earth, accept your devotional service. For them you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. But for the pure devotees of the Lord, there is nothing beyond the lotus feet of God. And the Lord knows that such devotees do not wish anything more than this. The word too specifically establishes this fact. The Lord also does not wish to be separated from the lotus heart. That is the transcendental relationship between the pure devotee and the personality of Godhead. But the Lord does not wish to separate himself from the hearts of such pure devotees. It is understood they are specifically dearer than the impersonals. The relationship of the pure devotees with the Lord develops from the devotional service to the Lord on the authentic basis of Vedic authority. Such pure devotees are not content sentimentalists, but are actually realists. Their activities are supported by the Vedic authorities who have given oral reception to the facts mentioned in the Vedic literatures. The word Raya is very significant. Parabhakti or spontaneous love is the basis of an intimate relationship with the Lord. This highest stage of relationship can be attained simply by hearing his name, etc. And take sources like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam recited by pure and by devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare. So devotees of the Lord, Yetu Tadi Charanam Kosagandam, and Jagranti Kandavivre Sruti Vat. Vat means wind basically. So this wind is compared to the Vedic scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So like wind carries the aroma. Similarly, the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, they carry the fragrance of Lord's lotus feet. And they enter in the ears of a devotee and then enter in the heart from that. And that is why devotees consider Lord's lotus feet as the final goal of human endeavor. With the highest devotion of Prema Bhakti. That means by our Prema Bhakti, we will worship the lotus feet of the Lord. And like bees are very eager to accept the or relish the fragrance of lotus flower, similarly, devotees with Prema Bhakti are very eager to relish the fragrance of Lord's lotus feet. And that's why those who are greedy for that lotus flower, those bees, they don't give up the bees whatever happens. In the lotus closes and opens, by the morning time, bee has died inside him. So similarly for devotees, those who are greedy for Lord's lotus feet, they can't give up Lord's lotus feet at any cost, even if they die. So such devotees are filled with sweet prem. And by that prem, they bring Lord under their control also. So this is a form of the Lord is glorified here. And then Lord says, but if devotees also have wives, children, wealth, then they're also materialist. They're also dealing with matter. So then Brahmaji answers that by text 6. So please read text 6, translation and purport.
O my Lord, the people of the world are embarrassed by all material anxieties. They are always afraid. They always try to protect wealth, body, and friends. They are filled with lamentation and unlawful desires and paraphernalia, and they avariciously base their undertakings on the perishable conceptions of Maya and mine. As long as they do not take shelter of your safe lotus feet, they are full of such anxiety. Purport. One may question how one can always think of the Lord in regard to this name, fame, quality, etc. If one is embarrassed by thoughts of family affairs. Everyone in the material world is full of thoughts about how to maintain his family, how to protect his wealth, how to keep pace with friends and relatives, etc. Thus, he is always in fear and lamentation, trying to keep up with the status quo. In answer to this question, this word spoken by Brahma is very appropriate. A pure devotee of the Lord never thinks of himself as the proprietor of his home. He surrenders everything unto the supreme control of the Lord, and thus he has no fear for maintaining his family or protecting the interests of his family. Because of this surrender, he no longer has any attraction for wealth. Even if there is attraction for wealth, it is not for sense enjoyment, but for service of the Lord. A pure devotee may be attracted to accumulating wealth just like an ordinary man, but the difference is that a devotee acquires money for the service of the Lord, whereas the ordinary man acquires money for his sense enjoyment. Thus, the acquisition of wealth by a devotee is not a source of anxieties, as is the case for a worldly man. And because a pure devotee accepts everything in the sense of serving the Lord, the poisonous teeth of accumulation of wealth are extracted. If a snake has its poison removed and bites a man, there is no fatal effect. Similarly, wealth accumulated in cause of the Lord has no poisonous teeth, and the effect is not fatal. A pure devotee is never entangled in material worldly affairs, even though he may remain in the world like an ordinary man. Thank you.
So in this particular verses, in the previous verse, the devotee who has achieved prema bhakti was described. So these devotees, they just relish the Harikatha, keep the Lord within their heart, and relish the lotus feet of the Lord. In this particular verse number 6, first part explains about an intermediate devotee. Who is that intermediate devotee? Who has finished his anartha but may not be having so much attachment for the Lord. So even that devotee, Brahmaji says, they may not be having very much attachment for you, but they are not attached to things of this world, like wife, children, wealth, etc. And the rest of the line of text number 6, the second line of text number 6, second line means for a third and fourth line, mentions about a devotee who is still not crossed anartha. Then for such a devotee, even for him, attachment to wealth, women or wife, children, it is not a stumbling block. Even for such a devotee. Why it is not a stumbling block? Because he has become expert in using all these things in Lord's service. Although he may be having attachment for them. So then such attachment to wife, children, wealth is considered like attachment to a toothless snake. The snake whose teeth are or fangs are broken, he is no more poisonous. So even if a devotee is having attachment for wealth, wife, children, it is not dangerous because he uses them for Krishna service. He doesn't use them for sense gratification. So that is how devotees in all the 3 stages is always very exalted. That is what Brahmaji is explaining here in this verse. Okay, so we don't have much time now. Okay, we can maybe Hare Krishna.
Kanji.
You can read this text 7 and purport.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Text 7. O my Lord, persons who are bereft of all auspicious performance of chanting and hearing about your transcendental activities are certainly unfortunate and are also bereft of good sense. They engage in inauspicious activities, enjoying sensory gratification for a very little while. Purport. The next question is, why people are against such auspicious activities such as chanting and hearing of the glories of the part of the Lord, which can bring total freedom from the care and anxieties of material existence? The only answer to this question is that they are unfortunate because of supernatural control due to their offensive activities performed simply for the sake of sense gratification. The Lord's pure devotees, however, take compassion upon such unfortunate persons and in a missionary spirit try to persuade them to into the line of devotional service. Only by the grace of pure devotees can such unfortunate men be elevated to the position of transcendental service. Thank you.
Then, after hearing about three types of devotees and their great fortune, that even if they are attached to wealth, women, wives, children, still it is not harmful for devotees. Lord says, if that is the case, then everybody would be intelligent and surrender to me. Who will be left in this world? So Brahmaji says, no, Devena. Because of their misfortune, they are offensive towards you. So that's why they are engaged in the activities of enjoyment, and they do forbidden actions also. They commit sinful activities also. Because they have such a envy towards you. So although devotion service is such a great fortune, but unfortunately people of this world, because of ill fortune, they don't surrender to you. They are just absorbed in sense gratification, even at the cost of breaking the rules of the scriptures. So that is how Brahmaji says, no, people are not so fortunate. So now he will start describing about the pitiable situation of people who are not devotees. So we'll learn that more in detail further in tomorrow's class. Okay, so we'll end here. Chandra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gopat ki Vancha Kalpadruvesa Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Pavanam Vaishnavi Namo Namaha. Gopat ki